Hey everybody, how are you all doing tonight? It's so good to see all of you. Hey Jess Pam, so nice to have you. Hey CJK, good to see you. Hi Lynn. Hey Unsolved Crimes, good to see you and have you here. Hi John. Hi Alicia. Yeah, Alicia, we're going to talk about that tonight. Hey Redneckzilla. Hey Truth Justice, it's good to see you. Hey, Unsolved Crimes, I am going to play one of your videos tonight. I hope that's okay with you. I assumed it would be after we had our email conversation. So I hope everybody had a good Thursday. As you can see, I kind of switched around my studio a little bit, and I've been making a little bit of changes and things. So sorry that I was a little bit late tonight. I was hoping to go by 8, but it wasn't working out for me. My air conditioner stopped working around noon, so I had to have an air conditioner guy out, and it got fixed, but he was here, and it just kind of delayed me in getting everything together. So I apologize for that. I totally agree. Who is TMS? Oh, the murder sheet. Sorry. Yeah. I've been hard on him too. Purple's my favorite color. So that's my brand color. I chose it because it is my favorite color. Hey, country girl. Good to see you. I'm so glad you guys are all coming. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to the very first thing that we're going to talk about is the murder sheet drop that they did with the interview with Demie Johnson from WishTV. And I really thought that we should just hit it. Everybody's talking about it. It's all over social media. And I really felt that that's what we probably should start the show with tonight, because I know people are talking about it. So everybody's wanting to know all about it. And I thought that it was a little telling. But I also thought that we need to be careful because, again, these are how do I want to put that? Uncorroborated things from law enforcement. These are things that they are talking about. CJK, I'm not sure. It looks like it came out today, sometime today, is when it hit. I don't know. I got notified by one of my moderators on Reddit that it had gone down. And unfortunately, I didn't hear about it until like 6:30. So I was rushing to listen to it before we went live tonight. So the murder sheet interviewed Demie Johnson, and Demie Johnson is a journalist with WishTV, or she was. She has now taken another job, and she's going to Florida to work for another TV station. But she is the person who broke the Kagan, Klein, and Anthony Schatz information, as far as putting together that Kagan was the person behind the Anthony Schatz profile. Hey, Corgi Mama, always good to see you. Thanks for coming. And yeah, I'm in the Midwest, so you're way out on the coast, and it's definitely still early there for you. But anyway, she was working for WishTV in West Lafayette, and she has been covering Delphi for ever since the beginning. And she talked about how in the beginning, she was in Delphi a lot. She said that every time she went to Delphi, that the atmosphere within the city was always as if it was the day after the murders. It was very solemn and quiet, and you could just feel this uneasiness about it, she said. And she said it was like that clear up until probably last year or 2020. I think she said in 2020, it started to change a little bit, and you could start to feel like it was trying to get back to normal in the town. I thought that was interesting, her perspective of that. And she started building relationships with not only the families, but with law enforcement. She does have some good relationships with law enforcement who are retired. She did mention that. She said she was calling all the time. She was contacting them a lot, sometimes daily in the early days, asking how many tips they had, what information that they could provide. And she just kept on them. She said it was kind of like they knew at one point that she was not going to go away. She was just going to be there. And so she kept at it. She just kept, I don't want to say hounding them, but she just kept her pressure on them. She wanted information. She felt that it was deserved, not only for the community's safety, but for the families. She said if it was her children, she would want to know what happened and why they weren't releasing more information. She couldn't really understand that, and it bothered her. So she just kept at it. And finally, they did realize that she was never going to go away. She was going to be there for the long haul. And so they started sharing things with her. Nothing out of the ordinary, like she said, nothing illegal or, it was all by the book. They weren't giving her things they shouldn't. But they started sharing information and places she could go look for documents and things like that. And she started to get clues or, started getting more information about things. And this went on for a time. And she said about this same time, hey, Perry, so good to see you. Yes, I am definitely with Unsolved. She is on this, and I am, everything that she's done, the work that she's done on Flora and these fires is incredible. So yeah, her and I are going to be definitely doing some things together. So I'm thrilled about it as well. But getting back to Demie, she said that over time, she was working on another case, the Larry Nassar case. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching who are not familiar with who Larry Nassar is, but Larry Nassar was the Michigan doctor for the U.S. gymnastics team that basically was abusing gymnasts for years and years and years. I mean, incredible. And so many young girls that were just violated by him, and in just a manner of complete disregard for them and his profession. But two of the FBI agents who were covering that case, she started to get a relationship with, because she was covering it as well. And she built a rapport with them. And she started to talk to them. And they were also part of the Delphi murder investigation. And so maybe something good did come out of that Larry Nassar mess for her, because she did get this rapport with the FBI, who were also covering Delphi. And they started sharing things with her as well. And I think she said somewhere along the lines of 2020, one of her sources gave her the name of Kegan Kline and said, you need to go check this person out. And so she did. And she went straight to my case. In my case, it's a public database in Indiana where you can search if you have the name of a person who's been charged with a crime or arrested for a crime or incarcerated for a crime. You have their name, or you have their case number or their attorney. You can search in that database and find the documents regarding their case that have been made public. It is a wealth of information. I use my case a lot in my research on Delphi. And I'm now starting to use it on Flora as well. So she went looking in my case, and there was everything that you could have ever wanted. She said everything about Kegan was in there. And she was floored. She said she didn't know why this was not brought out in 2017. She couldn't understand why this stuff was hidden there. So she said she contacted law enforcement, and she said to them, look, I'm going to do a story on this guy, and I want to know if it's okay with you if I run the story. And at first she didn't get a response. And she asked questions. She was asking them questions about him, which obviously they refused to answer. They did not give her any information. And so finally she basically ended it with, well, I'm going to go ahead and run this story. And they were like, that's fine. So they were okay with her breaking the story. They were not worried about it for whatever reason. And the source who gave her Kegan's name also told her that Kegan Kline is not Bridge Guy. But Kegan Kline knows who Bridge Guy is, which many of us have suspected a lot. I mean, since Kegan has been revealed. Many of us have already thought Kegan was not Bridge Guy, but Kegan knows who it is. And she confirmed that in this interview. And that's why I said we just need to be careful, because none of this has been confirmed by law enforcement. but we're going with a professional journalist who had sources. This person, I do trust her, and I don't think she would say this or put this out if she didn't feel very strongly about the information, because she's invested in this case. And I think you can tell by just listening to her when she talks in the interview. So with that knowledge, even though she's moving away, I guarantee you she's going to stay on top of this case to the best of her ability, even if she does it in her off time or her downtime. She is I don't know, she's just she just seemed like a really down to earth person, and somebody that I would kind of like to talk to, because I think she knows a lot of things, and a lot of things she talked about in the interview was with the family. And the families are behind law enforcement in this. And they almost unwaveringly, they just trust them. They trust what they're doing. They trust their actions. And she said that was fine, but she as herself, if it was her children, she would want to know more and ask more questions of law enforcement as to why didn't you do this and why haven't you done that? And they're more apt to just sit back and let law enforcement do their jobs, I think is what she was really trying to get across, which is fine because, they have a rapport with his officers. It's apparent, especially Mike Patty. I think people have already formed that knowledge that Mike has a rapport and a friendship with some of these officers. So I think he really does believe that they're working in his best interest and in his granddaughter's best interest. So, very, very interesting interview. A lot of information. And hey, Tech Death. Hey, Jennifer, you snuck in here and I didn't see you. There is a gnat flying around my face. It's driving me crazy. Don't know how he got in here. Probably when the air conditioner guy was in here. But anyway, it's good to see you, Tech Death, and you too, Jennifer. Always good to see you, my dear. So I thought it was a good interview, and I thought it was interesting. So everybody, if you want to listen to it, you can listen to the Murder Sheets. They're on any platform where you listen to your podcasts. And that's where you can find it. They dropped it today. But everybody's talking about it, that he knows. And so, of course, they're all thinking it's Tony. That's who they're pointing to, and the fact that they need somebody to admit to the murders or somebody to break an alibi. And so they're probably waiting for Kagan to do that. Now, if it turns out that it's not Tony, but it's someone else that Kagan knows, it could still be the same kind of a situation where they need an alibi to be broken. So, hi, Mike. Good to see you. Yes, everyone, today is Abby's birthday. And we all should be remembering Abby today. She was 19 today. And think about all of the things that she would be doing right now. She's would have been a freshman in college. Freshman, sophomore. I think a freshman. And finishing her freshman year, or just finished her freshman year. And it's kind of sad to think about the dreams that she had and how that was all gone, and how much my heart goes out to Anna today, because I know how hard those birthdays are. Truly. Just had my son's birthday on May 30th. So, and it's tough. Every year is different. You don't know how you're going to feel, how it's going to be. And for Anna, she's still waiting for this butcher of a person to be held accountable for taking her daughter. And so I'm sure it's just extremely emotional for her. For all of us, to think about what they're going through. So we are going to, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, that, because I made some notes, that Demie Johnson talked about in the interview was, he's still out there. He could be walking the streets with the people that live in Delphi. He could be going to the local pub and sitting next to them on a bar stool. He could be there pumping gas when they're getting gas. It's just mind-boggling to think that this person is still out there walking the streets and living their lives. She said that the community is helpful and wants this case solved, but they're also very, how did she put it? They were willing to talk to her. She got a lot of information from them, and again, from the families. She said that she also felt like the reason that they didn't talk in the beginning about the girls possibly talking to someone on social media was because they were trying to protect the girls because of their ages. They didn't want people to start running around talking badly about them, which we know it happened anyway. But as I go back to a number of different people over the years that I've spoken to about the case, who've said they were no different than any other 13 or 14-year-old girls. Of course, they were talking to boys. And of course, they were talking to people online. Kids that age this nowadays live online. They have their Snapchat. They have their Facebooks. They have their Instagram. And now they have TikTok, which back then was Musical.ly, which Libby had. Libby was all over Musical.ly before it turned to TikTok. So it's, it's not unreasonable for these girls to be having these kinds of relationships. But she said that she feels that law enforcement was trying to protect them and trying to protect their reputation, so to speak, because nobody really knew what was going on. But she said it would have been helpful had law enforcement shared it with the family, because what if the family did know? What if the girls had been in trouble for it? Or, what if somebody in the family knew that they were talking to someone online? You would think that they would want to share that information with the family. And I felt the same way when she said that, because I've always felt like it was odd that they kept that information from them. And I'm still not sure why they would have done that, but they did. She did say that there was more than one source who shared Kagan's name with her. She also said she wanted to know why law enforcement waited so long to search Ron Logan's property. They didn't search Ron Logan's property for nearly a month after the murders. And To me, that is just mind-boggling. The girls are found on his property, and you don't think that the number one place you need to go and search would be there? Because you gave them almost a month to get rid of any evidence that may have been there. It's crazy. She also said that she had a really hard time accepting that they waited 3 years to apprehend Kagan. Why did they leave him free when they knew what they knew? I guess we're going to have to wait to see why that is, because their feet have really been held to the fire over that one. Sorry, guys. Pam says maybe they kept the info about social media from the family because they knew that Kelsey had reset Libby's phone prior to the murders. Could be. No, I don't believe Ron Logan has anything to do with it, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't evidence on his property. That's all I'm saying. So those are the things that really came out of that interview for me. Those are the notes that I made. But yeah, if you guys want to go watch it, certainly do, because, there is some interesting things there. The next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to watch Unsolved Crimes Uncovered's video that she made on Flora. If you guys have not checked out her content, please do so. Go subscribe and like her videos on Flora. She has done so much work on these last 2 videos. I'm just floored by the things that she's been able to get out there. So we're going to watch this. I will at the end, we will talk about it, and if you guys have questions, she's in the chat, so we can talk to her, and if she's willing, I would even give her a link and she can call in and we can discuss it, because I definitely think that it's important information, and she is one of the people that I feel has done the most work on this when it comes to statistics and things that matter. So let's, with Truth Justice for sure. And just so you know, Truth Justice has a subreddit on Reddit regarding the Flora fires as well. And it's the Flora fire. And they started their subreddit shortly after I started mine, and has done a wonderful job too, trying to bring more light to this case. And I absolutely, my hats are off to everyone who's trying to do this, because it's extremely important. So without further ado, let's start watching this video.
everyone. Thank you for watching my last video. If you didn't see it, I encourage you to watch it because it is going to add value to what we covered today. If you've learned something new, please leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Your questions and input are what makes these videos even better. So with that, let's go back and quickly recap what the last video covered prior to moving further on down this river. First of all, I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to each of the victims' families. The loss of your loved ones and the failure for justice to be served is why these videos are being made. In order to fully understand the complexity and sheer profoundness of the 13 victims referenced, we need to understand that the baseline fire mortality rate in Indiana was derived from the Indiana Department of Public Health Statistics, which showed us that approximately 1 death per 94,000 people occurred every year. The combined population of Flora Bringhurst is 3,100 persons. It should have 1 fire death every 30 years. And the fact that we have 13 deaths recorded within a 13-year period comes nowhere close to what the Indiana State Department of Health's mortality records have shown us. 13 deaths in a 13-year period versus 1 death every 30. The definition of mass murder and serial murder were presented through my last video. If we are going to discuss the Flora and Delphi murders and other suspected murders in the Carroll County area, we should speak like we are addressing professionals and use the correct terminology. Law enforcement in Indiana has never once described the 4 Flora girls' murders as a mass murder. Mass murder is the killing of 3 or more people at one time at one location. 4 Carroll County girls were murdered simultaneously within one area. This is specifically a mass murder. Were other Flora Bringhurst fires with 3 or more victims also mass murder arsons that were mistakenly characterized as accidents? The Flora Bringhurst data raises many questions, including those pertaining to the decision not to include the 4 Flora girls' murder in the Delphi tip line and website. And interestingly enough, you guys, I am going to be incorporating some information taken from the CDC. Now, every data source that I include has been taken from public sources. These figures that you're going to be seeing sparse throughout my presentation today are original sources. These are not things that have been created. This is information that has been compiled for the purpose of this video. Now, in the screenshot that we are looking at, this is taken from the CDC. And I want you guys to understand that 3 of the 6 fires in Flora Bringhurst killed 3 or more people, and potentially all of them are mass murders. On average, fires with 3 or more victims kill 14% of the victims each year. But in Flora Bringhurst, it's 10 out of 13, which is 77%, you guys. The 77% number is made even worse by the high percentage of child deaths and the fact that no deaths should have occurred in 13 years. I'm going to add that in as a support for this theory that all 3 fires were, in fact, mass murders. Also, the decision to not include the 4-death Flora mass murder in the Delphi tip line and website is even more repugnant than it appears at first glance. The data shows that 13 Flora Bringhurst residents died in house fires in the 13 years between 2003 and 2016. When 1 death per 30 years was expected. The exclusion of Flora from the tip line goes far beyond the unaddressed murder of 4 sisters. 3 of the fires in Flora.
I just want to stop it there just to remind everyone while you're listening to be really, really conscious of what she's talking about here with the statistics over time. They compile mathematically how many fires should be occurring in this population area over time. And that's where the statistics come in. And this area is blowing it out of the water. As she said, there should have been no fires over this period. And look at the number of fires and the number of deaths. So I just want everybody to be cognizant of that as we're listening.
Bringhurst killed 3 or more people, and one of the 3 was a proven mass murder arson. Because Flora Bringhurst should not have had any fire deaths between 2003 and 2016, a legitimate question is whether Flora Bringhurst's 2 other fires with 3 victims were also mass murder arsons. Exclusion of the 4 Flora girls from the Delphi tip line was about more than the 4 girls. It was an act that nailed the door shut on any investigation of Flora Bringhurst. 9 other fire deaths since 2003.
Now listen, I don't believe that anybody said it to intentionally kill those 4 little girls. I don't believe that. I hope I'm not proven wrong.
Next, we're going to discuss whether the Flora Bringhurst mass murdering arsonist found new hunting grounds within neighboring counties. The same data sources and epidemiology techniques used to model and identify abnormal Flora Bringhurst fire mortality clusters were also applied to the analysis of the counties neighboring Carroll County. The fire mortality statistics and data strongly suggest that 6 weeks after the November 2016 Rose arson, the Flora Bringhurst arsonist began murdering people outside of Carroll County during early 2017. Thomas Pulver, who is pictured within the screenshot shown, age 31, died in a January 11, 2017 Kokomo fire at 3:30 a.m., or the same time of day as the 3:30 a.m. Rose arson. Pulver's mother has relatives in Flora. The data provides specific and articulate facts supporting reasonable suspicion that Carroll County's mass murdering arsonist may have killed more than a dozen children outside of Carroll County since 2017. Approximately 2 child deaths by fire were expected in the 6-county area from 2016 to the present day, but 19 had occurred. The most recent child death was the daughter of an Indiana state trooper, Stephanie Thompson, who also was killed in a 2 a.m. February 17, 2022 Monticello fire 5 miles north of the Carroll County line. We're going to switch gears now and present some data, which is going to outline the 6-county area fire deaths from 2016 to March 31st of 2022. Now, the first short circuit in this table that I'm presenting is that a total of 15 fire deaths were expected, but 37 actually took place. The second problem is 86% of the excess in fire deaths beyond the 15 expected were due to child fire deaths. The data glitch isn't about 3 extra adult fire deaths. It's about 17 child fire deaths more than what would be considered normal.
Isn't that unbelievable, you guys? When I saw these statistics, I was horrified. And I know people will argue that, you can make statistics say whatever you want, but not in this case. This is not something that you can do. This is straight on math. It's so easy to just see. It's right glaring us in the face. And Mike asked the question on whether or not law enforcement has mentioned a serial arsonist at all. No, they have not. And I don't know necessarily at this point believe that Indiana's going to. I'm in the court right now with unsolved crime that this needs to be a Department of Justice investigation. And we need to get the ATF involved, and they need to be looking more into this. I mean, I can't tell you how shocked I was when I watched this video for the first time.
50% of the fire deaths in the 6-county area since 2016 have been children, when the 8-year state average shown in our next table was 10%. This is completely abnormal, you guys. And why these issues have not been further investigated is why we are looking at them today. This next section is going to look at the Indiana fire deaths for those children that are 14 and under. I want you guys to try to think of this data and information that's being presented as kind of like an online class. Go back to your college days. If you are interested in exploring the data and you want to fully understand the numbers, I strongly recommend that you do some research and verify them for yourself.
I'm going to stop this just for a second. Digital, Randall said it was arson. Randall came out and said that there were multiple places of accelerant in the home right after the murders, before doing a thorough arson investigation. And I believe they wanted him silenced.
If you have trouble finding the information, you can post questions in the video's comments section, and I'll gladly guide you to the data with links. But as I've mentioned, the links that I have pulled this information from are going to be sourced within my description. So let's think of this as extra credit homework. I don't know about you, but if I worked for Indiana's law enforcement team, I would be losing sleep over the anomalously high number of child fire deaths in the 6-county area. The documented 2016 to 2022 deviation of child fire deaths in the 6-county area is far above what's reasonably expected and is a mirror image of the 2003 to 2016 Flora Bringhurst child fire mortality pattern that's shown in our upcoming figure. Now, as you can see, we are examining the Flora Bringhurst fire deaths from 2003 to 2016, and in Flora Bringhurst, 62% or 8 of the 13 victims were children. In the 6-county area, 19 of 37 or 50% of the fire victims within the last 6 years have been children. And what this data suggests is that child fire deaths have increased dramatically outside of Carroll County after 2016. After Flora's quadruple mass murder by arson in late 2016, the suspected homicidal behavior pattern changed. The shift in geography is clearly revealed by Indiana County's level fire mortality statistics. The statistics provide a basis for reasonable suspicion that Carroll County's serial killing arsonist accelerated his late-night murder spree after the Rose arson and moved it to neighboring counties. The suspected migration can be tracked by, number one, the dramatic increase in the number of fatal fires outside of Carroll County that started in January of 2017, and number two, the massively abnormal age distribution of the fire victims in the 6-county area after 2017. The size of the anomaly is so large and sudden that it's hard not to conclude children are being targeted for murder.
So Unsolved just put this out there that, interestingly, the Indiana Department of Public Health only has data in the format pulled from through 2017, 2018 to 2020. It does not include a breakout by fire mortality, and 2021 to 2022 does not even exist. So, yeah.
And moving to this next section, I do want to offer a brief explanation for Table 4. The 4 Flora girls girls who died in 2016 had their cause of death changed in 2017 from accidental exposure to smoke and fire to homicide. Their deaths don't show up in the U.S. Fire Administration's database because they were murdered. Even without the Flora girls being added to Table 4, however, the data shows that the 14 child fire deaths in the 6-county area from 2017 to the present day accounted for half of the 28 child fire deaths in the rest of Indiana during the same period. The population of the 6-county area is 235,000 compared to 6.35 million for the rest of Indiana. The data in Table 4 also does not include 17-year-old Maya Thompson, who died in a February 17th White County fire. She falls outside of the 14 and under age group. When Maya and the 4 Flora girls are added to the 14 child fire deaths in Table 4, the number of child fire deaths in the 6-county region since 2016 rises to 19. Since 2016, children aged 14 or under in the 6-county area have died in fires at a rate 12 times higher than children in the rest of Indiana.
Did you hear what she said? 12 times higher than the rest of Indiana. What the hell is going on in this 6-county area? What is going on? And why is somebody not asking that publicly? Why is somebody not standing in the streets with signs asking what is going on in that area? They're scared. I mean, seriously, if there is a serial arsonist at work here, you can just imagine how scared they would be.
Over the same time period, adult house fires, deaths in the 6-county area haven't exceeded or barely exceeded the number expected. The disproportionately large number of child fire deaths are far beyond what was expected is identical to the pattern in Flora Bringhurst between 2003 and 2016. Tippecanoe County, which neighbors Carroll County to the south, had 8 fire deaths between 2016 and the present day, and none were children. Tippecanoe County's population is 200,000 versus the 235,000 within the 6-county area. The spike in child fire deaths outside of Carroll County from 2017 to the present day is the same type of demographic anomaly as the 2003 to 2016 Flora Bringhurst deviation, but the newest version is accompanied by significantly different victimologies than the fatal fires preceding 2016. This change in victim socioeconomic and lifestyle attributes become clear when a multi-variable algorithm is used to score and rank victimologies by family. The Delphi girls, whose family backgrounds are a near identical match with many of the child fire victims, were included in the algorithm that we are going to be discussing. The results of the victim algorithm scoring and risk assessment based on their victimologies will be the subject of our upcoming video. I would like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you found this information valuable, and I hope to see you again soon. All the best wishes to you all. And before I go, I just want to let you guys know that I am going to be summarizing this information in terms of the victims, both adult and child victims across the 6 county regions that we have recently discussed, as well as a tribute. As I've mentioned, I offer my sincerest condolences to each and every one of our victims' families, you guys. This situation is just so much bigger than anyone may have ever realized. And I wanted to provide you guys with an ability to see just how valuable and important this level of information is, and understanding not only the occurrences, but it will help in feeding into the algorithm that we've described and what the killer may be basing his kills upon. So with that, thank you very much for being here tonight. God bless you all.
Wow, you guys, just my hat's off to Unsolved Crimes Uncovered for that coverage. I can't say enough about that video and what it meant to me to see it. It's horrific. Those statistics are disgusting. And for anyone to sit and look at them and just pass them off as, oh, it's just a coincidence or whatever is crazy. And my next thought on this is that we get this information to a really good investigative reporter within the local area. And I'm thinking that we might want to talk to either RTV6 or WishTV and see if someone wants to grab it and run with it, because We need this out in the public. The public needs to know about what is going on in this community and how it's not being talked about and how it's being pushed under the rug. To listen to Doug Carter, and please understand when I say this, I really don't think Doug Carter's a horrible person, but to listen to him say that he does not believe that anyone intentionally set that fire to harm those girls, after witnessing all of these statistics and these fires that are going around in that area, and trust me, he knows. He's the head of the Indiana State Police. He gets this information. Is negligence in my opinion. It is absolute negligence. Hey, who's your girl? Welcome. And it's like when you sit and think about the differences in the fact that this area shouldn't have had any fires over a 13-year period based on the statistics for fires in that area, it's incredible. And then when you stop and think about the children are the ones who are being targeted because they're the ones dying in these fires, it's just mind-boggling how it's not being talked about and how it's basically just being pushed under the rug. And I just don't understand really how people can allow that to go on. And I'm so glad that we have creators such as Unsolved Crimes and the new Reddit subs, True Justice, his sub, the other sub that's out there that is the Flora 4. It's the new one that I've told you guys about. She's done amazing work as well. In fact, we are going to talk about that. Not sure how long this video is. Hold on a second. I need to see how long it is. So we're going to watch another video real quick, and then we'll talk about some stuff. So this is only 3 minutes and 21 seconds, but this was shared on the Flora 4, and it's about Arson Investigation 101, and it will just give us an idea about how arson investigation is supposed to work. So just give me a moment here to share my screen again with you guys. And thank you for being so patient with me tonight. I appreciate all of you.
Forensic science to reviews and teach you about arson investigation. One of the first things that an arson investigator looks for is what's called depth of char, which is this characteristic crocodile skin look. And the closer something is to the flame, the deeper that char is, the farther away, the less char. So that can help indicate where the fire originated. Another thing to look for is things that have melted. If you can find something that has melted and you know what it's made out of, you know exactly what temperature that thing had to have been. The last thing they look for is called protection patterns. So here you can see this beam has no char to it, meaning the fire started on the second floor and worked its way up. And in fact, if you look here, you can see this side is completely burnt through versus that side still has some protection patterns. So over here is where the fire was probably more intense, and in fact, right here is where the kitchen is, which is the most likely source of the fire. I want to show you guys how I used to detect accelerants back when I worked in the crime lab. One of the most important parts of fire investigation is the evidence collection. If you can imagine, the very center of the fire is where it's going to be the hottest, which means that's where you're least likely to find any kind of chemicals or accelerants that were used to start the fire. So if a fire investigator finds a burn pattern, they're going to cut the very edge of that pattern and submit that in a metal can for analysis. Once the lab receives the evidence, the first thing they're going to do is hang a piece of activated charcoal inside that can, then put it inside an oven to warm it up. What that does is it causes all the chemicals and accelerants to vaporize and cling to that piece of activated charcoal. Once that happens, they can then wash off the charcoal with a solvent and run that liquid on a GCMS. I worked in the crime lab for 3.5 years and eventually decided to leave that to become a teacher. So I definitely take a lot of my experiences from the crime lab and use that in my science teaching, because I really found that students really love forensic science and they really love to hear exciting stories from my experience in that time. I worked in the actual lab, so I have a lot of experience with actually analyzing the evidence. So whenever the arson investigators collected things, they would submit it to us, and then that's my job to basically identify what was actually in whatever they collected. I think part of why the video got so much attention was a lot of people were really concerned about how much it's like a junk science. There's a whole slew of concern in forensics right now about how there's been so many like false convictions. There's been a lot of evidence showing how arson investigation in particular has led to false convictions, including examples of people being executed on those false convictions. There is a lot of science that is pretty solid, especially like what I did with like gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. That was some pretty solid stuff, but then ultimately it's the interpretation of that evidence. That's where it starts getting a little messy. I got a bachelor's of science in biochemistry and molecular biology, and ultimately went to grad school to get a master's degree in forensic science. And then I happened to get a job in the crime lab here in my hometown, and so it just worked out. Ultimately, yeah, I just knew that I love science. I love working with kids. I wanted to try to, instead of maybe like putting people in jail, kind of like switch my philosophy to like helping be supportive of people before they get to that point in their life. You know, so I wanted to be more like a preventative kind of person. And teaching science just seemed like the perfect mesh, and I've been loving it. I try to include as much as possible as spreading positivity and curiosity through science and jokes.
So there you go. I thought that was pretty interesting and pretty telling about how to read burn patterns and charring, and to tell when some things in the home show no burn patterns at all, how you can tell that they've got like a protective pattern and where the fire may have originated. I just thought that was interesting. I'm learning a lot about fires that I never in my wildest imagination thought I would be learning about, but it's really important to kind of get, when you investigate this stuff or want to really try to figure out what's going on, rather than just regurgitating the same information over and over that you hear on social media. That's not newsworthy to me. I need to delve into the actual facts, and news reports and any kind of law enforcement reports that we can get. I do know that somebody on Reddit posted in the Flora 4 that they had access to some of those reports. And so it can be quite telling when you look at that. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in here, hang on. This was the other thing that I wanted to go over with everybody. Every time I talk about Flora, people were coming in to chat and saying things like, well, Galen Rose isn't cooperating. The family's not cooperating. And I would try to tell them that was rumor. That is not true. And that, it's just become this horrific rumor that has just taken off, has its own wings, and is flying all around social media. And again, if there is a serial arsonist out there, they love this because it takes the, thank you so much, Who's Your Girl? So kind of you. Thank you so much for your support. It takes away from talking about the narrative and the things that really need to be talked about in this case. And I get furious. Same here, Truth and Truth Justice. I get so upset. It's the same way I feel about all the rumors around Delphi and the families. It just makes me angry. Somebody doesn't want these cases solved. And, people can say what they want, but I think more and more it feels that way, that there is just this faction running around on social media spreading horrific rumor that has no bearing. The public has scrutinized Galen, okay, for allegedly refusing to cooperate with law enforcement or leaving the state before the investigators had a chance to speak with her. This is completely a rumor and false. She was interviewed on December 13th, 2016. She gave a deposition on September 25th, 2020. She had an interview on March 17th, 2017. She had an interview of her sister by ISP July 29th, 2019. Another family member was interviewed on December 2nd, 2016. Another family member was interviewed on July 29th of 2016. Another family member was interviewed on December 2nd of 2016. You cannot tell me that this family has not cooperated. So in the months prior to this press release about the rumors, or about the fact that the mom may not be cooperating, investigators had conducted a number of polygraph tests and spoke with a number of suspects and informants in Indiana that were pertaining to the suspects and the motives for this crime. Because believe it or not, they had a lot of suspects for this crime. And notably, investigators have worked with other sheriff departments that have experience with organized arson crimes and serial arsonists in the past. So they've done that. John, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for supporting the channel. The 2019 press release came after a number of polygraphs were conducted throughout 2018 and 2019 that have provided information and details on the suspects responsible for this crime. Carter never said that the family was not cooperating. Never. Carter never said that the mother refused to speak with investigators. Carter never said that. Law enforcement publicly recognizes the mother is a victim in this crime. The whole family is large, very large family. They're located all across the United States, North Carolina, Indiana, Illinois, California, and Missouri. Galen also has been married, although this individual has not been named publicly. Tracy Anthony Rose, Galen's biological father and the girl's grandfather, has also resided in Indiana for a number of years. He has been previously incarcerated in Indiana in the past for a long sentence relating to drug charges. He is very close with his daughter, Galen, and his grandchildren, and he's been highly critical of law enforcement's handling of this case. He currently lives in California with his daughter, Galen Rose. Rose was living in Indiana throughout 2017. She returned to Flora a number of times and has expressed concerns about the rumors being spread and the lack of community concern and awareness regarding her case. She also has been critical of law enforcement, although she has more recently expressed that she knows that the case will be solved, which I thought was telling, quite telling. So I'm glad that she feels that way. During a press conference in 2019, ISP Superintendent Doug Carter said his office really needs to sit down and speak with the whole family, as well as Galen, about the days leading up to the fire. When asked about the difference in public responses to this case and the case of the two murdered girls in Delphi, Carter said the cases are very different. And I just think that that's wrong. They're all murders. They're not different. We have to sit down and have unfettered, complete, transparent conversations with everybody that had access to that home for the weeks, months, and days up to that day when those 4 beautiful girls were killed. It's because we don't have access to the whole family, he said. Well, I don't know what he means by that, what access, because the family's denying it. And they have said they will sit down with anyone. They've given depositions. They've given interviews. They've been polygraphed. And what's so interesting to me about this, the fire that happened in February of 2022, where Stephanie and her daughter Maya was killed, murdered. Stephanie was a polygrapher and someone who was doing interviews of suspects in the Flora fire. That to me is a huge red flag. Somebody wanted to silence her. It certainly appears so. But for whatever reason, the statements have been distorted and somehow perpetuate a cruel and substantiated rumor that Galen Rose is responsible for this crime. And I'm tired of it. So I'm going to start speaking out against it, just as I do with the family attacks on the Germans and the Patties. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to handle it exactly the same way, because it's just wrong. And I don't know if people do it because they want their 15 minutes of fame and this gives them a voice, and people, run to them and want to hear about all their conspiracy type theories about mom and how awful she was. And, and I agree with you, John. No wonder she moved out of the state. She didn't feel the community backed her at all. It's just like my brain just went blank. What was I talking about? Hold on. It's exactly, whoops. Where's my subscriptions? Why is it not showing up?
Let me ask you a question. Are you ready to...
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find it. And hold on a moment. Hold on one moment. I so apologize. I hate it when what I was... So it's just exactly like when Unsolved Crimes was talking about how these fires and all the statistics are pointing to things that people don't want to talk about. Somebody said a long time ago, back in 2017, regarding Delphi, you can't force the evidence to go in a direction you want it to go. You have to follow the evidence and go in the direction that the evidence tells us to go, right? Well, it's painful sometimes. It's painful that these fires might lead to a serial arsonist, and Delphi might be related to it all. This all might be related, even though law enforcement has told us it's not. Law enforcement told us that the Delphi girls weren't talking to anyone online. The law enforcement told us that there was no social media involved. If you don't want panic to ensue in a 6-county area and your law enforcement, you're going to dispel any thought of a serial arsonist. You're not going to mention it because you don't want panic to ensue. The same reason they wouldn't talk about a serial murderer. And it's kind of like Uncovered told us is law enforcement doesn't even use the proper terminology in their professional capacity when speaking about these murders. A mass murder, she gave you the definition of what a mass murder is: 3 or more people in one location. And if you've got somebody who's doing these fires over and over again, you need to watch her other video. Hold on a sec. I don't know why it wasn't. I had it pulled up here. Let me find it. She has another video that will be even more telling than the one we watched tonight, in my opinion. Because it really ties the two cases together in a way that you may not have thought about before. At least it did for me. YouTube is just not working for me tonight. It is just not. Oh, let's see. I'm going to put the link up to the other video that I'm talking about. This video, I wish we could watch it, but it's 39 minutes long. It is so worth it, though. So here's the link I just dropped in the chat for Unsolved Crimes video. It's Carroll County Murder Plot, Flora Fires, and Delphi. And there is a murder plot, and it's a math plot that she does on a map. And you need to watch it. It is extremely interesting. When you take all the mathematical equation into this, and it's hard for some because some of us don't have that type of analytical mind. So it's really hard to kind of wrap your mind around it, but you have to keep an open mind, as we've talked about in these cases. You can't limit yourself to thinking only one narrow direction, and it's hard. And that's the truth, all we get is from law enforcement is there's nothing new on the case when they talk about Flora. Nothing new to release, nothing new here. And Perry says, highly recommend Unsolved Crimes Uncovered. Highly recommend. Because I really think she's on to something here. A lot more than we can possibly think of. And it's really scary, because even if even if these two cases are not the same killer, there is something going on with the arsons in this 6-county area, and somebody needs to be held accountable for them. So I just can't say, like I said, I can't say enough about her and all the things that she's done to investigate this case. It's just, it's incredible. Yeah, I've heard that, Digital, that the accelerant that was used is not a normal type of accelerant that you would see in arson fires. Now, whether or not that's true, I'm sure Truth Justice knows a little bit more about that. That stupid gnat is still in this room, driving me crazy. Possibly Unsolved Crimes knows too. I haven't gotten that far into it, only that I've heard the rumor that the accelerant was something that was highly unusual, or not something that you would normally see in this case. But, and that's the point. We just want to get the information out to the public and listen, have people listening to what may not be being spoken about, because there's a reason law enforcement's remaining quiet. And whether it is because they don't want to frighten people, or if it's because of something worse, I don't know. I just know the questions need to be asked. Their feet need to be held to the fire on this. And They need to be asked these questions. Why? And that's interesting, Pam. I had not heard that. She says the rumor is the accelerant was formaldehyde. That's really interesting. Who has formaldehyde? Who would have formaldehyde or access to it, and why? Oh, Unsolved, it's okay. The baby comes first. The baby always comes first. We come second. You have to put the baby down. Sally Ann, that's awesome. She wants to start a Facebook page for the Flora girls. She's waiting for a reply from Rose. Awesome. That's awesome. I hope you get it. Because the more, like I said, the more people that we can have out there, promoting the case and getting the word out there, the better off we are. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. That's something that we would want to ask an arsonist and an arson investigator, I would think, or someone who trains arson dogs. That would be somebody. That would be something to ask them, is if they're trained to pick up on formaldehyde. It's just, I don't know. I think what's sad is that we have all these children that have lost their lives in suspicious fires, and it's just like, oh, well, that seems to be the attitude. And I think that that's what's so maddening to me. Yeah, you're right. Somebody who works in a pathology lab would have access to formaldehyde. I wonder if somebody who does, what's it called? Taxidermy. I wonder if somebody would have formaldehyde available to them in that profession, because being in the Midwest and being in the country where you have hunters, people are always getting their deer heads and stuff mounted, and taxidermy is a thing around here. So I wonder if they would as well. And Truth Justice says the landlords own 2 hardware stores. So I don't know if you can get formaldehyde in the hardware store, but yeah. Boy, I hadn't heard that. I had not heard that rumor. Yeah, we don't have those. We don't have those files, so we don't know. It's hard to say. Hey, Jane from the country. Good to see you. Better late than never, my dear. See, there you go. There you go. Ask your brother. He would know. He would know. I mean, and I do. I mean, I know people don't like hearing that because they think that we're conspiracy theorists. And trust me, I am the farthest from a conspiracy theorist that you can get. I think I don't go that route ever. And I'm not thinking conspiracy. I'm thinking that for some reason, law enforcement doesn't want to talk about this. They don't want to bring it up. They don't want to have any kind of reference to the fact that this could be a serial arsonist, that these fires could be all connected, that these, that any of it. I mean, it just really upsets me. Yeah, mortician. Definitely a mortician. Thank you, Sandra. Good to have you here. But yeah, you're right. A mortician would have access to formaldehyde as well. And there's some more, I'll put it this way. There's some notable morticians in that area. Thanks, Sally. We're theorists. Thank you. Yeah, that was one that came to mind, as well as Levi Holder. Sorry. Levi Holder is also a mortician. Thanks, Pam. Thanks, Pam. Yeah, this is what I've been talking about with her. There may be absolutely no conspiracy here, but this may be indicative of a hate crime. And it's something that needs to be looked at, because I'm sorry, when you have one of the only African-American families in the community wiped out by a arson fire, you have to look at it as a hate crime. Very correct, John. You are so right. Sometimes they do turn out to be true. Yes, SD. Logan, the younger brother, was not Libby, but it was Abby. But I wouldn't call it dating. I don't think they were dating. They were together. They didn't go out on dates. But Anna didn't even know about him until after the murders. So yep. And this is another one. Domestic terrorism with motive to investigate intent to harm multiple individuals by race or creed. And it just happens. I mean, we have to look at it. It does happen. Yep. I thought taxidermy. Thank you. Thank you so much, CJK. Thank you so much for looking that up. Hey, Cindy Delafuente. How are you? It's good to see you. Yeah, that's very true, but it'll be interesting because the first suit was kind of thrown out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of that. Actually, you know what? I've seen that the Flora reward has gone up to $9,000. I hope it's because we're talking about it. I really do. I hope that that's why the reward has climbed. I don't know, Digital. Yeah, I don't know. Google it and see. That's the only thing I can say, because I really don't know. Yeah, SD, I think that's right. Yeah, they called each other boyfriend and girlfriend. But I do know that they physically were together because they have pictures of themselves. And I'm not sure how that, I would be really interested to know how that came about without Anna's knowledge. I've always wondered that. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So the appliance manufacturer was dismissed from the suit, but the suit itself is still ongoing. And it's one lawsuit with multiple defendants. So the little boy in the suitcase, welcome to the fabulous LAD, Las Vegas, Nevada, was found on Holder Road, and residents of Patty are found along that residence. Along that road, you mean? So many weird things about these cases. It's like there's just so much. There's a lot of hunters, Who's Your Girl, who does that. I have a ton of cousins who all, when they get, well, they don't still do it, but like when they got their first deer, or if it was a large kill, they would get the heads mounted, and they have them in their house on the wall. It always creeped me out. I'm not that type of person. I love animals too much to have their heads on my wall. I just couldn't. I couldn't allow it. So, but it's a big thing in the Midwest. It truly is for hunters. Anybody who hunts. It's not. Yeah, there are. You're so right. There are so many rabbit holes that we can find ourselves in these cases. Just crazy. Just crazy. And you know, Indiana is weird. And all I'm going to say about that is when it comes to law enforcement in Indiana, they are so different than other law enforcement agencies in other states. And I'm talking at the state level. I'm not even talking how crazy it is at the county levels or whatever. But at the state level, everybody has been trained that you don't talk about anything. You don't talk about any cases. You don't discuss anything. You don't give out information. Everything is plotted as far as when they do speak out to the public. They're not transparent in any way, shape, or form. And maybe that's why they're second to last in their solvability rate of homicides in the country. I don't know. You guys tell me. It's weird to me. Truth Justice says, I live in Indiana, and you're right. I live in Illinois, and I know I'm right because I can see it. You see it from as a neighboring state, and you look at it, and it's just like, wow. And I mean, hey, that's not saying anything about Illinois. We have our own issues, but Pam says, I've got 13 point buck heads on my wall. He tasted good. Hubs calls it grocery shopping. See, there you go. 13 point buck's a big boy. Must have kept you guys for a while. That is a big deer. But yeah, they are. They rank 48 out of the 50 states in homicide solvability rate. And it's terrible. It's worse than embarrassing. And somebody needs to be standing up and saying, what's going on here? SD says, one of the many things in Flora case that bothers me is the town refuses to release the 911 call to the public because it would put people in danger or hurt the case. I just can't. I don't buy that. I don't understand how that could possibly hurt the case at all. Let's see. There was something. Unsolved says 369 seems to be the theme. Tesla complex, theory of the universe. This guy is mathematical and seems to be fixated on numerical patterns. Imagine that. If that is true and what she's saying is real, I mean, it is real. She's figured it out. But what I'm saying is, if this guy is a mathematical person who's fixated on numbers, stop and think about Evansdale, you guys. Because everybody talks about the mathematical craziness between Delphi and Evansdale. And I know people think it's crazy, but there are crazy people out there that do get fixated on things like that, and they kill for that reason. It's happened. And when it becomes complicated because of something like that, it makes it really hard to solve. Six minutes elapsed before a 911 call was placed. Hey, Mary Flynn, thank you so much for coming. It's fine, you're not late. And it does sound crazy, and I get that, but the patterns are there. She's right. And that's why I said, please make sure that you go out and watch the other video. Because, let me post it again in chat, because please make sure that you watch this video from Unsolved Crimes, because this is going to explain the patterns that she's talking about, and it explains it really well. And I think everybody needs to watch it. Make up your own minds, you know. But when I saw her two videos, I was like, because I've been leaning towards this anyway, with what I was finding on these fires. And she's done so much more in-depth work on it. Yep. The relative or the neighbor who did the 911 call, from what I understand, she called the landlord first instead of calling 911. Yeah, the whole, whoops, sorry. Let me put it up on screen again. But yeah, that's the link to the video. And Alicia says 6 minutes. And what the hell were they thinking, busting the windows out? I mean, I don't understand that. Why would you vent the bottom floor when you know that all that's going to do is feed the fire? It made me wonder just how much these guys had in training on fires. And hey, Guitar Man, we have a lot of people around this Flora fire that have spoken and talked, and people have certain information. And one of the things that bothered me was the fact that the first thought would be, oh, here, let me call the landlord. What the heck is he going to be able to do to stop a fire at 3:30 in the morning? You would be calling the fire department that's 500 feet away, or however far, not far. And, you know, you've got volunteer fire departments. So these guys aren't getting paid. Some of them do, but very few of them do. And so they're doing this on their own dime or their own time. And you have to wonder sometimes, I mean, people say, oh, well, they do it out of the goodness of their heart. And of course, you know, I'm going to go out there on it and say 99.9% of firemen do it out of the goodness of their heart. But there's also that element out there that could possibly not be. But the point is, you know, what kind of training do these guys get? And why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And that's the other big question. The landlord gets a phone call at 3:30 in the morning. Your house is on fire, your rental house. Did they turn around and themselves and call 911? Who's on the 911 call that they don't want to release? That's what I want to know. Who is it? Who are they protecting? Or who is it that they keep thinking is going to hurt this case? And is it going to hurt the case in a negative way because it was the landlord and he didn't call 911? So, and I agree. I do too. Unsolved crimes. I don't want to attack firemen or law enforcement because I have law enforcement officers, detectives in my family. And I know how much the job means to them and how much they take it home with them every single night. And, you know, something is not right here. Something stinks in Flora and in these communities. And we need to find out what's going on. And if they made mistakes or they did something wrong, agreed, take ownership of it, admit to it, and move on. And if people are going to lose their jobs over it, people lost their lives. Children lost their lives. I mean, that's to me that, you know, JDR, thank you so much. I'm glad that you found it too. I'm glad you're here. I mean, the 911 call is public record. I don't get why they've stopped it being released. But I do think there's a definite reason, and I don't think it has anything to do with a good reason. I think it's a reason to protect whoever did or didn't make that call. And Mary Flynn says, when you watch the town hall meetings, they're fighting to keep this private. Yes, they are. They went as far as the Supreme Court in Indiana to keep it quiet. They fought the news agency to keep it quiet. You know, it's just, yeah, this is that statistic that gets me. 51% of child-related deaths when only 1 in 30 per every 30 years was forecasted. If that doesn't scream arson and arsonist and serial murderer, I don't know what does. I just don't. You could be right, Truth Justice. That is exactly why they're trying to keep it under wraps. I agree. You have to remember the politics behind all this stuff. And I hate that when we're talking about lives and people's lives and people losing their lives, and then they try to make it political. It makes me angry because politics should never enter into it. Shouldn't be anything political. It shouldn't be you and us and them and, you know, your party, our party. This is about the lives of innocent children. And if we can't come together on that and put our arms around it and say something has to be looked at and stopped, and we need to figure out what's wrong and what's going on in this community to keep these deaths from happening. That's the bottom line. Nothing else should be talked about. I mean, and like she said, an arsonist who very well may have escalated to double homicide, not his first rodeo. Yeah, maybe he got tired of just, you know, doing fires and thought for the heck of it, might do this. We don't know. We don't. But it's really scary. Somebody posted, I think they made a racial slur on that 911 call, and the judges involved know it, would start a riot. Possibly. Like I said, I don't think it's any I don't think it's any revelation that racism exists in that area. I mean, it just does. You have to accept it. You have to know that it happened. Because of the history. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry, guys, I had to do my inhaler. So, what did I miss? I'm okay. I'm okay. I just needed my inhaler. I'm fine, Pam. I really am. It's been really bad here, heat wise and every other wise, but I like Sally Ann's comment. It doesn't take a brainiac to see race is involved. They just don't say it. However, a bench. Actions speak louder than words. Exactly. I've said it all along. The Flora girls had a $5,000 reward, and the Delphi girls had $325,000. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with that. The coverage of the case. The girls deserve as much coverage. The Flora girls and the sisters deserve as much coverage as the Delphi girls do. And they've never gotten it. And it's why we're trying to bring light to their case and possibly uncover the reason why it's not been talked about. Because there's just so many weird things that are going on around here. And it makes me really angry. And I know it makes you guys angry too. Yeah, Pam, pretty much me too. I do occasionally, but most of the time not when it's that bad, because my asthma is so bad that I can't. But what upsets me is when I'm having all these issues and during the day I'm really great. And then when I get ready to sit and talk to you guys, then I start having the issues and I start coughing and everything else. And it's just, I'm like, no, no, no. But we've been here a couple hours and I probably should jump off, but I wanted to, again, just thank everybody so much for supporting me, for supporting the channel. Unsolved Crimes, I really want to talk to you. If you, I'm going to send you an email about something that I want to invite you to. So I'm going to do that here. It does, Jennifer. It does. I'm supposed to be quiet. My little 4-year-old grandson, he's always saying, Grams, no talking, no talking. He talks real low to me. He gets real down in my ear and no talking, no talking. And yeah, it's always at night, and mine usually hit me when the middle of the night, sometimes when I'm sleeping. So, but you are right, Sally Ann. They do need a voice, and we're giving them one. And the more we can all talk about it and spread the word, share those videos, share them with people that you know are concerned about the case, and let them know, you know, that these are the things that are being uncovered. And again, everybody, please go out and support her channel. Let's get her to 1,000 subscribers. She will have a community page when that happens. There will be other things that she'll be allowed and able to do on YouTube. Let's get her to 1,000. She's close. So I had a lot of help getting me there, and I want to help get her there because she's doing amazing things, and she's really doing good work on this Flora case. And I'm really, really, really happy that I found her, and that you guys heard it. Cop Facts agrees. She's there. She's the real deal. Good night, everybody. I hope you all have a good rest of your week and be safe out there. And I will talk to you all really soon. Have a good evening, everyone.